So, um, imagine for a second that you are trapped in a cornfield. But this isn't, a casual stroll through a fall maze or a scenic farm visit,
Oh, no.
right? You are hiding. You are absolutely terrified. You haven't eaten a single crumb in 2 days. And just beyond the stalks of corn, there's an entire army waiting to hang you the moment you step out into the open. It's a situation where your choices have been whittled down to exactly two options. You either starve to death right here in the dirt or walk out and face the gallows.
It's a complete nightmare scenario. It sounds like the opening scene of a really gritty war movie or maybe a psychological thriller, but it is actually the setup for one of the Brothers Grimm's more fascinating and, frankly, bizarre tales.
Exactly. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are unpacking a story that I think a lot of people might have completely missed in their nursery rhyme days. It is called The Devil and His Grandmother.
A fantastic title.
It really is. And let me tell you, the title alone promises a lot. It sounds like a sitcom setup, honestly.
Yeah.
But the story actually delivers even more than that. We are talking fiery dragons, magic whips, impossible riddles, and yes, the elderly relative of the Prince of Darkness himself.
It is a really rich text, and what I love about this particular story, which is known in the original German as Der Teufel in seine Großmutter, is that it isn't really about being a hero in the traditional sense.
Yeah, no shining armor here.
Exactly. It's not about slaying the monster with a sword or being the chosen one. Our mission for this deep dive is to look at how this is really a study in desperation, the art of the desperate bargain, unlikely allies, and how sometimes being the smart one isn't nearly as important as just being the cheerful one.
Right, and having the right connections, even if that connection is super unexpected. So let's get into the weeds or the corn stalks, literally. We start with these three soldiers.
Yeah.
What brings them to this cornfield in the first place?
The context here is vital because it sets the whole moral stage for what follows. The story opens by telling us there is a quote-unquote great war going on. The king has plenty of soldiers, but, and this is a tale as old as time, really, he pays them terribly.
Yeah.
The text specifically says the wages were so small they couldn't even live on them. They were serving their country and starving at the exact same time.
So it's a labor dispute, essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't cowardice. It's a literal economic crisis for these guys.
In a way, yes. They are starving while serving. So 3 of them decide to desert. They just want to run away and survive. But desertion in this era carries the ultimate penalty. One soldier points out right at the beginning of their plan, if we get caught, they'll hang us on the gallows tree.
High risk, high reward. Or rather, high risk just to survive another day.
Exactly.
So they try to sneak away and they spot this massive cornfield. They figure, okay, we'll hide in here, the army will march past us tomorrow, and we'll be home free. Seems like a pretty solid plan, all things considered.
That was the plan, yeah. But the army doesn't move. The army actually camps all around the cornfield. So these 3 guys are effectively under siege in a patch of grain. They sit there for 2 entire days and 2 nights.
I just can't even imagine that kind of tension. You're starving. You can probably smell the army's campfires right outside the field. You can hear them talking.
Yeah.
But you can't move a single muscle.
The text is very explicit about their despair at this point. They say to each other, what help is our desertion now? We must die miserably here. They accept that it is totally over. They have hit rock bottom. And that is usually the exact moment in folklore when the supernatural steps in.
Enter the dragon. And I mean a literal flying, fiery dragon comes swooping down out of the sky. I love these wild details.
Which is a very dramatic entrance, even for the Grimms. The dragon lands right in the cornfield and asks them why they are hiding. They explain the situation, it's starvation or the gallows, and the dragon makes them an offer. He says, if you will serve me for 7 years, I'll fly you right over the army so no one can catch you.
Now, in these stories, usually when a giant dragon shows up and starts offering verbal legal contracts, your instinct should probably be to run the other way. But they don't really have a choice, do they? It's not like they can shop around for a better deal.
No, not at all. They literally say, we have no choice, we must accept. And then the text just drops the reveal on us. The dragon grabs them in his claws, flies them to safety, puts them down far away, and then the narrator casually tells us that the dragon was, however, none other than the devil.
Of course he was. I feel like the fiery dragon disguise is a bit of a giveaway anyway.
Bah.
So they are safe from the army, but now they are employed by the literal devil.
Yeah.
What does that employment look like? What is the signing bonus here?
It's a surprisingly good one, actually. He gives them a small whip. The German word used is Peitschen, which just means a little whip. And he explains the mechanics of it. He says, whip and crack this, and as much money as you desire will spring up before you.
That is the ultimate dream gadget. Forget a magic wand. Give me the infinite cash whip.
Right. It allows them to live like great lords. They can keep horses, ride in fancy carriages, buy whatever they want. But there is always fine print when you're dealing with the devil.
The 7-year clause.
Exactly. He opens a book and makes them sign their names in it. The deal is laid out perfectly clear. You can live like kings for 7 years, but when that time is up, you belong to him. You are his property. Unless they can solve a riddle he poses at the end of the term. If they guess the riddle correctly, they are free and totally released from his power.
It's a classic impossible wager. He's betting his own supernatural cleverness against their sheer desperation. So the clock starts ticking. They have 7 years. And to their credit, they seem to have a pretty good time. They aren't spending the 7 years moping around.
They really do. They get the lordly clothes. They travel the world. But there is a very interesting line in the source material that I think is crucial for unpacking who these guys are structurally. It says, they ate and drank, but did nothing evil.
That is so interesting, because you'd think working for the devil would require some villainy, like quotas on corrupted souls or something. But they're literally just spending money. They aren't out there causing havoc.
Right. They are just utilizing the resource they were given to survive and be comfortable. They aren't inherently bad people at all. They were just desperate, underpaid soldiers who wanted a fair wage and a decent life. But, as it always does, time flies. The 7 years are coming to an end.
And this is where the personality differences really start to come out. You've got 2 of the soldiers who are absolutely losing their minds. The text says they were gewaltig angst, terrified and anxious.
Understandably so. They are facing eternal damnation. They know the devil is a million times smarter than they are. But the third soldier, he takes it, as the German text says, on the light shoulder. He's breezy about it.
The optimist. Or maybe just the guy who completely refuses to panic until he absolutely has to.
He tells his friends, brothers, fear nothing. I didn't fall on my head. I'll guess the riddle. He uses this great German idiom, I didn't fall on my head, implying he's not stupid, that he's got his wits about him.
I love that confidence. I didn't fall on my head. It's such a great way to say, trust me, I'm smart. But honestly, looking at the situation, he doesn't actually have a plan yet, does he? He's basically just bluffing to keep morale up.
He is completely bluffing. He has no idea what the riddle will be, but his attitude is what opens the door for them. The 2 depressed soldiers are sitting in a field looking completely miserable, and an old woman walks by. She asks them why they are so sad. And they basically brush her off. They say, what does it matter to you? You can't help us anyway.
Classic mistake in a fairy tale. Never be rude to the random old woman on the road. That is rule number 1 of survival in the Grimm universe.
Never. But she pushes back. She replies, who knows? Just trust me with your trouble. So they explain the whole deal with the devil and the looming riddle. And because they finally opened up, probably prompted by that third soldier's willingness to engage with the world, she gives them the path to the solution. She tells them one of them has to go deep into the forest to a collapsed rock wall that looks like a little house.
And the 2 sad soldiers are just like, whatever, that won't save us, and they stay sitting there in the dirt. They have totally given up. Their despair has completely paralyzed them.
But the merry soldier, the optimist, he goes. He follows her instructions to the letter. He goes into the woods. He finds the rock hut. And inside, he meets the title character of our entire discussion.
The devil's grandmother.
Yes. Sitting right there in this rock hut is a very, very old woman. And we quickly find out she is the devil's own grandmother.
Okay, we have to pause here because this is so wild. What is the actual vibe of the devil's grandmother? Because I'm picturing something terrifying, maybe with horns or claws, but that doesn't seem to be the case here at all. Is she evil?
That's the brilliant twist of the story. She's accessible. She operates on a completely different frequency than her grandson. The soldier walks in and explains everything that happened. And the text says, because he pleased her well, she had pity on him and said she would help him.
Wait, so she just likes his manners. This guy is literally charming his way out of hell. It wasn't magic. It wasn't brute strength. It was just being polite to an elderly woman.
It seems so. Civility counts for a lot in these structural tropes. She essentially decides to double-cross her own grandson to help this random mortal she just met. She lifts up a large stone that covers a cellar and tells the soldier to hide down there. She gives him very specific instructions. She says, keep mouse quiet, don't move a muscle, and listen carefully to what the dragon says when he comes home.
It's such a domestic, mundane scene for a story about the devil. Hide in the basement. My grandson is coming home from work, and he's going to be hungry.
It really is. And sure enough, at midnight, the dragon comes flying in. He wants his dinner.
So does the devil transform back from dragon mode at this point, presumably?
The text implies he's still in dragon form, or at least acting very much like the dragon character, but he sits down to eat like a normal person. The grandmother sets the table, brings him food and drink, and makes sure he is vergnügt, content, and happy. She is actively managing his mood.
She is completely buttering him up.
Exactly. They eat and drink together, and then she starts making small talk. She asks him how his day was and how many souls he caught. It's exactly like asking a fisherman how the catch was out on the lake.
How was work, dear? Catch any souls today? Oh, terrible. The market is down. Nobody is sinning.
And he actually complains. He grumbles and says, it didn't go well today. But then he perks up and says, but I have 3 soldiers in my grip. They are mine for sure.
And here comes the assist from Grandma. She knows exactly which buttons to push to get him talking.
She plays devil's advocate, pun absolutely intended. She says, yeah, 3 soldiers, they have something about them. They might still escape you.
She is baiting him? She's challenging his ego? Because she knows he can't resist proving how smart he is.
And it works perfectly. The devil laughs scornfully. He says, they are mine. I will give them a riddle that they will never, ever guess.
And because he's arrogant, and because he completely trusts his grandmother, he just tells her the answer.
He reveals the whole riddle. And this is where the story gets incredibly surreal. These aren't normal riddle answers like wind or darkness or time. These are grotesque, ultra-specific things that no human could ever possibly guess on their own.
Let's break them down for everyone. There are 3 components to the riddle. What is the first one?
Okay, so the devil says, in the great North Sea lies a dead sea cat. Now, a sea cat, which is meerkats in German, usually refers to a long-tailed monkey. So a dead monkey floating out in the ocean. He says that shall be their roast meat.
That is just disgusting. A dead waterlogged monkey is the roast beef. Okay.
Yeah.
That is definitely an unsolvable riddle. What is the spoon they use to eat it?
The spoon is a rib from a whale. He says that shall be their silver spoon.
And the wine glass.
An old hollow horse's hoof.
So the grand meal in hell is a dead monkey, eaten with a whale bone out of a hollow horse foot.
Correct. It's a meal of refuse and death. It perfectly symbolizes the grotesque nature of the devil's hospitality. And structurally, he thinks there is 0 chance any human could guess that specific, random combination of nonsense.
I mean, to be fair to the devil, I would never have guessed dead monkey in the North Sea. You cannot logic your way to that answer.
No one would. That's why it's the ultimate impossible riddle. It relies purely on secret knowledge, not logic or deduction. The soldier hiding down in the cellar is the only person on Earth, besides the grandmother, who has access to this info now.
So the devil finishes his dinner and goes to bed, feeling incredibly smug.
And as soon as he is sound asleep, the grandmother lifts up the stone and lets the soldier out of the cellar. She asks him, did you hear everything good?
And the soldier confirms, yes, I know enough.
He has the intel, but he can't just walk out the front door. He has to sneak out the window in all haste and take a completely different path back through the forest to his friends.
I can just picture him running through the dark, bursting with this insane information. He finally gets back to the other 2 soldiers who are probably writing their last wills and testaments in the dirt.
They are completely despondent, but he tells them the whole story. He explains how the grandmother outsmarted the devil and reveals the answers to the riddle. And suddenly the mood shifts completely. The text says they all became joyful and in good spirits.
And what do you do when you are joyful and happen to have a magic whip?
You whip up some money. They start cracking the whip, making cash jump around everywhere, and they just party until the 7 years are officially up. They are completely relaxed now.
I love that so much. They don't run, they don't try to hide again, they just wait for me to show up.
They wait for the deadline, and right on time, the devil shows up with his book. He points to their signatures and says, I'm taking you to hell with me. You shall have a meal there.
And here's the setup for the final confrontation. He tells them, if you can guess what roast meat you're going to get, you're free.
Imagine the tension, but also the suppressed laughter of these 3 soldiers. The first soldier steps up. The devil asks about the roast meat. And the soldier calmly says, in the great North Sea lies a dead sea cat. That will probably be the roast meat.
The devil's reaction here is easily my favorite part of the story. Because he doesn't explode immediately, does he?
No, he just gets annoyed. The text says he went, grunting with this deep frustration. He knows something is wrong, but he proceeds to the second soldier anyway. What is your spoon?
And the second guy says, a whale rib.
The devil makes a face, he grimaces, he growls again. He is getting visibly angry now. He knows the game is rigged, but he can't prove how they cheated. So he turns to the third soldier, our merry optimist, and asks, "Do you know what your wine glass is?"
And the soldier delivers the final blow. An old horse's hoof.
And that completely breaks the contract. Upon hearing that final answer, the devil doesn't argue. He doesn't try to renegotiate or fight them. He just lets out a loud, terrifying scream and flies away.
He knows he's been beaten at his own game.
He has absolutely no more power over them. The contract is void.
Now, usually in these folklore stories, when you trick the devil or a witch, the magic items vanish. Like, the fairy gold turns to dry leaves, or the magic castle just disappears into thin air. Does that happen here? Do they lose the money?
That is the best part for our soldiers. No. The text explicitly states, the three kept the little whip, whipped money forth as much as they wanted, and lived contentedly until their end.
They actually got to keep the signing bonus.
They kept the signing bonus, they kept their souls, and they fully beat the system.
That is incredible. It's a total unmitigated victory.
It really is. And if we look at why they won, it's a fascinating takeaway. Yes, they had the magic item, but the magic item didn't save them. The whip only gave them money. Money couldn't solve the riddle.
Right. If they had just relied on the wealth from the whip, they would be in hell right now, eating dead monkeys.
Exactly. What saved them was really two things. First, the cheerfulness of the third soldier, the sheer refusal to give up. The text contrasts him sharply with the other two who just sat down in the dirt and accepted their fate. If the third guy hadn't said, "I'm not stupid, let's try," they would have all died.
It's the power of optimism. Or maybe just the refusal to accept the bad situation as final. He decided to engage with the world and seek help instead of retreating from it.
And the second thing, of course, is the grandmother.
The grandmother is the absolute MVP of this story.
She represents this totally unexpected mercy in a place of absolute evil. It's a reminder that help can come from the most unlikely sources if you are polite and willing to ask for it. The soldier didn't judge her for living in a weird rock or being related to the devil. He treated her with respect, and she saved his life.
It also humanizes the devil in a really weird, funny way. He's not this omnipotent cosmic force here. He's a tired grandson who complains about his bad day at work and gets tricked by his grandma because he talks too much at the dinner table.
It diminishes his power entirely. It makes him petty and fallible, which is a very common theme in folklore. Evil is arrogant, and that arrogance is its fatal weakness. He thought no human could ever know his secrets, so he blabbed them to the one person he thought was totally safe.
It's a classic loose lips sink ships moment, but for the Prince of Darkness. It shows that even the most powerful figures have blind spots, and they're usually shaped exactly like their own ego.
Precisely. And for you listening, I think there's a really nice lesson here about the impossible problem. The soldiers were facing a literal impossible riddle. There was no logical way to deduce the answer. But the solution wasn't found by sitting there and thinking harder. It was found by going out, taking a risk, and finding a guide.
Sometimes you don't need to know the answer yourself. You just need to know the person who knows the answer.
Networking. Even in Grimm's fairy tales, it's all about networking.
So we have three wealthy veterans living their best lives, a highly frustrated devil, and a grandmother who hopefully didn't get into too much trouble for leaking state secrets to the mortals.
Oh, I like to think she completely runs that household. The devil probably didn't dare say a word to her about it.
Probably not. Eat your dead monkey and be quiet, grandson.
Exactly. She definitely calls the shots.
So, as you go about your week, maybe you're facing a problem that feels absolutely impossible to solve. Maybe you feel trapped in your own metaphorical cornfield. Just remember the third soldier. Don't sit down and accept it. Go into the forest, find the rock house. And for goodness sake, be polite to the elderly woman you meet on the road.
She might just hold the key to everything.
And she might help you keep the magic whip too. But here's a final thought to mull over. We assume the grandmother helped the soldier out of simple pity. But what if she orchestrated the whole thing to humble her grandson? What if she's the one actually managing the balance of power, ensuring the devil never gets too arrogant by occasionally letting a few mortals slip through his fingers? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the weird world of the Brothers Grimm.
Always a pleasure.
We'll see you next time. Keep exploring.